Good morning. It is 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That is 9 a.m. in Queensland. The big focus of today in this weekly update on the 7th of March is going to be Cyclone Alfred, but there's still plenty for the rest of the country, including where the leftover rain will go. Let's start with Cyclone Alfred. Here it is this morning. We've got that off the shore. We've got about 140 k's off the coast as of at the moment. That's the latest guidance that has come in. You can see that the bands are wrapping around into that cyclone, and so it is the southern side of the cyclone that sees the most dangerous weather. We'll go through that shortly. Okay, so here's the latest blog post. You'll find them under Jane's update on our site here. There it is. Let's go through the problems that we're going to see with Alfred. Damaging wind gusts up to 120 k's an hour. Anywhere near and south of that core as it comes in, it can be up to 155 k's an hour. There's the rain to go with that, 400 to even 800 millimetres. We've already had falls well over 300. It's now up to about 450, I think, in Dorrigo. That's over the course of the event. We've got locally intense rainfall that may lead to dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding anywhere if you're near that core as it comes in. With the water with that, damaging surf, significant beach erosion. If you've seen the news coverage, it is looking very wild. We've got a dangerous storm tide now. If the crossing occurs at the time of high tide, there'll be a lot more water that comes in with it to flood all those low-lying areas. So do look out for the timing of that one. We've also got the minor to major, most of it being major flooding, that occurs now and over the days and weeks ahead because all of that water has then got to go somewhere. Okay, the latest guidance here from the Bureau this morning. Now, having a look at this path here, this is a smooth version. It's not going to show all of the loop-de-loops that it's done. So you can see just in the past how it's been moving around. It's very wobbly. This doesn't show the wobbliness. It shows a smooth path. But what does that actually mean in reality? As it does approach the coast, it's likely to come sort of near the Gold Coast, then turn, going up parallel to the coast right nearby, off Brisbane, off the islands just there, and then potentially moving in around Caboolture. So that's kind of the path we're looking at. And if you are near and south of that, that's where that dangerous weather is. All right, let's move on and have a look at the guidance for this here. So I thought I'd take you through the different models that official forecast is made up from, so you can see what's happening behind the scenes through there. Having a look at the right-hand side, we've got the different weather models there. So I'll start with GFS, which on our site you know as the USA model. Here it is at 2 a.m. I'm going to jump through every 3 hours. You can see it on the top here. So it is GFS, it is Friday, it is 2 a.m. So here we are by 5. Let me just put my mouse back there. By 5 o'clock. Hasn't moved very much. Watch it move into the morning. It's not moving very quickly. But here is the rain associated with this. You can see the yellows, orange, even reds. It's all to the south of that cyclone that sees the worst part of it. Moving in during the afternoon into the evening, and by 11 p.m. it is still out there according to this particular model. Let's go overnight, 2, 5, 8, and 11. So that's how it has it crossing over those islands into around the Caboolture area tomorrow at 11 a.m. and then moving not very quickly and then losing its dangerous characteristics, but still look how much rain comes in behind that to the south side of that system. We've got low pressure, easterly winds, a heap of moisture. That is a very wet situation in the hours and days to follow once this actually moves inland. All right, so there's what we have by Saturday. We'll go back to the start. Let's have a look at another one. So a slightly different path. Here we have the Euro model. This is 2, 5. I know it gets cut off there. It's incredibly annoying. We're working on fixing that for you. But 2, 5, 8, 11. So that's where we are by 11 a.m. Here we go into the afternoon and evening. It hasn't really moved very much. This one's taking a further north path, but watch it move. Here we go into the early hours of Saturday, coming back down. This thing is going to move around. We've already seen the loop-de-loops. Coming down in through the islands here and then potentially right over Brisbane. So the Euro model likes Brisbane as the crossing point. That's at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and then moving inland. This one moves away faster, but still lots and lots of wet weather to happen after that has crossed to the south side of that system. There we are by 11 p.m. on Saturday. Let's go back to the start. Look at the access model. So that's the Australian one. Here it is all the way out through here, 5, 8, 11. So there we are moving in through the afternoon and into the evening. That one's veering northward, but still a bit of a drive-by for the Gold Coast. That's how you could call it there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's on Saturday morning, 11 a.m. It has it on Moreton Island. And then into the afternoon. That's 2 p.m. So that's even slower. And then moving through here as we go into the later hours of Saturday. Again, heaps of wet weather to follow this system. Look at the other one. This is GEM. This is Canada. Do you know it on our web pages? So here we move through 2, 5, 8, 11. So there we are by tonight. Moving through the night, 1, 2. There we go. So that's an earlier crossing. 3 and 4. Moving again through the Caboolture kind of area. So what we're taking that as, all of the guidance here has it between Caboolture and Brisbane, and it is those islands that are going to feel it the most. And then moving away as we move into Saturday night, again, lots of rain to follow. All right. That's that there. Let's have a look at what this means in terms of wind. So I thought I'd just go through one of the models here. Here we've got over 90 k's an hour. So that's our gale force. It's not showing the 120s. It's not showing the 150 k an hour, but this is just the dangerous wind. So the damaging wind, the gales that are coming in. And just looking every 3 hours, mouse back in here, every 3 hours, there we go. We can see it's just off the coast as we move through the day here. Into the afternoon, that is getting closer and affecting more areas in through here. That's 11 p.m. tonight. The early hours of tomorrow, there we go. And then when it's moving ashore, it's still going into that later part of tomorrow. So it's what the main message here is, it's not just hitting one point. It's not a quick thing as it comes through. There's a lot going on this one, and it lasts for a very long time as it comes through. Okay, let's have a look at rainfall total. So rainfall total as of Sunday at 11 p.m. Let's actually go back and I'm going to do the 11. So I'm jumping every 12 hours here. Here's by tonight. Here's by tomorrow night. So all of these well up over 200 to 300, if not heaps more. Moving into Sunday night. So that's the big area stretching from here, Sunshine Coast, inland, all the way to Toowoomba, right down in through here, right down here south of Coffs Harbour. In fact, let's expand right out and look at it from a bit of a perspective here, a bit of a distance. And here we have by Saturday night, so there's all of those falls coming in. Watch where it goes once that moves inland. So the rain spreads out as we go through Sunday. There we go, spreading right inland into the central parts of northern New South Wales, coming down the coast in here too. So the huge falls are here. Watch this move around. Now, it's not likely to keep going inland. If you're in South Australia, Victoria, where it's been incredibly dry, this probably isn't going to help us out, maybe just a little bit. I'll get to that in a sec. But let's have a look at what's happening in New South Wales from the remains of this. It's going to head towards the coast in through here. So this is Monday into Monday night. So that's when it really hits Sydney. Yes, Sydney. Brisbane first, Sydney next. That's how big this system is once it moves inland. And then into Tuesday, and there's just even more to come. So that's where we're looking at the big falls, the significant rainfalls from this weather system. Let's now go further afield and look at the entire country as a whole. I'm going to jump through day by day. So you can see the day up here or down the bottom here if you can read that there. There is our cyclone off the coast today. So this is by the end of Friday, so tonight. Onshore winds, high pressure down to the southeast there. That is what is pushing that cyclone towards the coast. It's the steering. You've then got northeasterly winds coming down. So there's a bit of humid air. There is heat, making it right down into the southeast once again. There's a trough over on the west-hand side there, and there will be some cooler air in behind that. Perth reached 40 yesterday, but no more of that in the outlook, but we do have some wet weather coming in. And there's the usual activity across the top, but that is suppressed for now. There's nothing major happening up there. That's Friday. Here we have Saturday. Cyclone is ashore, high pressure out to the east in the Tasman Sea there, northerly winds in the southeast, hot, sunny. We've got this coming in across the interior. We've got that trough over in the west. So there's a sense of instability, a source of instability. We've got a little bit of that moisture coming in, so it's likely to produce some wet weather, but nothing significant widespread. Maybe significant if you're directly underneath a storm, but in terms of widespread chances, no. It'll be lighter falls that are widespread. So all through these parts here. That is Saturday, while this wet weather comes into the southwest as well, and this continues in the southeast Queensland, northeast New South Wales. Moving into Sunday. There's that activity, southeast Queensland, northeast New South Wales. We've got our trough that's running down through here, so cooler air and some shower activity happening in the southwest. But out ahead of that trough line, showers and thunderstorms, hit and miss, not widespread. If you're directly underneath, could get a good fall, but generally the widespread activity isn't going to add up to very much. But that is Sunday. Have a look into Monday. We've still got this trough that's running down in through here. The remains of the cyclone are doing its thing to the east, but there may be a little bit of activity moving through South Australia, Victoria, maybe even Tasmania. Watch that sink down into Tuesday, and then into Wednesday, we might have some activity now. As we move into Wednesday next week, this next weather system gets started over in the west. This one could be significant for a larger part that's not associated with southeast Queensland or northeast New South Wales. This is more of a southern system, so still on the horizon, still low confidence, aren't they always? But this is where this next one could go. So watch this closely. It's very vague at the minute, so very different from model to model, so low confidence in that. But here's an idea of where it may go. There's Wednesday, there's Thursday, there's Friday, there is Saturday, and there is next Sunday. So there is the potential for something to pick up some moisture from the north and actually have it travel right across those southern states there. So that's on the horizon, and as always, very low confidence at this stage. All right, let's have a look at the week as a whole and what that means. Here is our Euro model. We're looking at rainfall. We're looking at drier than average conditions up in the north. We'll have a look quickly at the MJO to see why. That's our pulse of tropical energy. It's currently about as far away from Australia as you can possibly get. So that suppresses the rainfall in Australia's tropics. It doesn't control what the cyclones are doing, but overall the activity here is less. That one from the middle of the month is likely to come back in our direction, but the last one, the one that produced that big wet weather, that snaked in through here. It was a stronger pulse. It was right in that green zone. This one here is currently looking weak, but something to keep an eye on in terms of a pulse of energy, a pulse of moisture could potentially hook up with those southern systems if it comes through. So that's what's driving this. Let's go back to the Euro one. It's not clear-cut. It's definitely not as clear-cut as what the Bureau is saying. This has got a lot of blue on it, doesn't it? So the remains of that cyclone, yes, we can get that, although in their last week's guidance, they didn't pick that up. So we've got all of this showing a blue tone at this moment. Now, the Euro doesn't quite have that. It's got the drying through here, but it's got a hint of something coming in. You got your cyclone remains there, yes, but there is a hint of something traveling across the south. So that is something to keep an eye on in the extended part of the outlook. In terms of temperature for that one, let's go and have a look at that. Here's our temperature. Before that arrives, it is hot. It is hot for an extended period of time. High pressure out over the Tasman Sea. That drags in all of the hot air down to South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania, and the parts of New South Wales that aren't getting that rainfall. Over on the other side, you've got that lingering trough that is in through here. So they're on the cool side, so they're getting the southerly wind. So it is cooler than average over in the southwest, but a large part of the country is seeing that heat. And yes, the Bureau certainly agrees with that. Here's the remains of the cyclone. They haven't picked up that southwestern signal though, but they've certainly got this one. All right, let's move forward and look at week 2. This is more green on the Euro system. So this is week 2 starting on Monday, the 17th of March. We know that the MJO is coming back at that stage, so there's more tropical influence in what's going on, more energy here in the tropics, more moisture here in the tropics. If there are weather systems that can hook into, then yes, we get widespread wet weather. There is a hint there that something is happening. Now, let's have a look at the Bureau's take on that. Their thing hasn't loaded today. So that's really unfortunate. You can't see what's happening in the southern parts of the country, but they have an issue with their map creation today. But it is hinting at a lot of moisture across the country in terms of wet weather. So week 2 looks a bit more locked and loaded, if you can say that about week 2. Week 1, hints of something coming later in the week if you're away from where that cyclone rainfall is moving. Having a look at temperature associated with that one, here we go into the second week, and we've still got a fair bit of heat that is running across much of the country. And the Bureau's map has loaded this time, and they are in agreement with that. All right, we talked about the MAO. That was coming back for the later part of the month. Having a look at sea surface temperatures. This is the anomaly, how much warmer or cooler than average. Let's start in the Indian Ocean. No clear dipole between east and west. No clear difference between those means there is no clear action from that ocean. So that ocean as a whole is suppressed. However, look at what's happening around the coast of Australia and through here. You've got that, all of that warm water across every single part of that coastline. Now you'll notice a blue part that is off the coast of Queensland. What's that? That's the cyclone. That's Alfred. That has been sitting over the ocean, and so it's been taking all of its moisture, all of its energy from that, and it has temporarily cooled the ocean underneath where it has been. So that is not something that's going to last. It's not a sign of we're all going blue off the coast of Queensland now. It's just because Alfred is overhead. Otherwise, it is surrounded by warm waters. Warmer than average water means more moisture to play with. When we have the low pressure move through and it's fed by that, then you get bigger rainfall than you would normally expect. If you don't have the low pressure move through, then you get nothing at all, no matter how much moisture is there. It's kind of like you can throw that bucket of moisture up in the air, but if you've got nothing to turn that into rain, it just doesn't do anything. So we need the low pressure to connect with that moisture to actually get the results from that. All right, let's have a look at the Pacific Ocean. We have been in all of that blue in that box out through there. We've had our warm yellow off the coast of Queensland. That's that dipole from the Indian Ocean. That's that imbalance between those two. And this particular phase of that is called La Nina. That pushes the moisture towards Australia, and that's where we were late last year into summer pretty much. That one, we're starting to see the blues weakening off and some yellow parts that are coming into that box as well. So this is a weakening situation out there. Let's now start with that one, so the Pacific Ocean. Here we had our weak and brief La Nina as we went over the summer. It's coming out of that now, likely to remain neutral. It takes a long time for that ocean to churn and process and move through, months and months and months. But later on this year, it looks like it's heading towards that El Nino threshold. Now, the last one of those that we had, normally you would go El Nino, that means tap turned off, and tap turned off means from the Pacific Ocean, that one source of moisture, we're not going to get a heap of moisture from that one. But we have other sources, and one of those is the incredibly warm Tasman Sea in through here, and that, last time we had El Nino, was enough to offset the drying effects of that, and that's where we got our moisture from instead. So always remember, the Pacific Ocean is one source of that moisture and that push of that moisture, and later on it looks like it is drying up later this year. When we look over at the Indian Ocean, we can see that that's definitely in a neutral phase at the moment. There's no imbalance, there's no dipole. We look like we're continuing through that as we go through autumn and into the start of winter, but there is the potential that later on in winter we may dip down, and that increases that moisture coming from the northwest. Again, it is one source, but it is a good source, particularly if you're in southern parts of the country. If you can get that to hook up with those low pressure systems, then we are sitting pretty. Okay, let's have a look at a quick whip around the country because there is a lot going on. Strangely enough, I'll start with Brisbane here. So, wet weather, as soon as this one loads, we're getting fresh data coming in. That's good. You'll notice that it has sped up. From the latest advice I got from my team this morning, we had it at 12 seconds. We've moved it down to 8 seconds, and some new technology that we are developing has got it down to 3 seconds. I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Vivian, if you're watching. All right, here we go into Brisbane. 9 millimetres. Today is not when the big wet weather arrives. Tomorrow is when that arrives. So into Saturday, 188. That is the average across all of the different weather models there. Having a look at the wind associated with this. We'll pull this one out. And we've got our, let's go back to today when those winds, no, where are we? We're in Brisbane. We're looking at 80s and 70s. This is inland from the coast. Brisbane, not right on the coast, so not seeing the brunt of this in terms of the wind strength. Let's go out to another location here. Why are all of these reloading? Anyway, I've gone Point Lookout, which is on Moreton Island, and it's right on the peak of that, so you can see what the guidance is for those areas. We've got into today, we're going up around the 117, 116, and then 103 overnight into tomorrow. 118, 133, 127. These are the huge wind gusts that come in. We saw that it was crossing the coast around here, so that's the little bit of a lull that's happening. Then it increases once again on the other side before very, very slowly moderating, if you can call it 95 k's an hour and moderating. So the wind from this lasts for a very long period of time if you are right on that coastline. Okay, back to Brisbane just to have a quick look. We've got our big falls here, and on Sunday, But after that, there's hardly anything at all. So as soon as that system has moved properly inland, we are back to clean-up mode and not much in terms of wet weather or wind or even temperature. There's nothing much to worry about there. All right, let's move down to Sydney. And good, everything is going to reload. While we're doing that, let's just move in here. Oh, good, they are. All right, so here we have in Sydney, we have got wet weather coming here on Monday, Tuesday next week. So it's not this weekend. Today, just the odd shower moving through into Saturday. Like it's not adding up to very much at all. Into Saturday, a bit more activity later on and into Sunday morning, but this is nothing in comparison with what's coming next week. Monday, that's when we jump up to 38 millimetres being the average, and then 24 on Tuesday. Could be as much as 65 and 75. So that's when the big wet weather is going to arrive in Sydney. So the low moves in, comes around, and then moves back out again with all of that leftover rain to come through those areas there. So Monday, Tuesday next week, that's when it hits Sydney. A quick look at Melbourne. It's hot. So today, 28, 29, sunshine. There's sunshine for much of the time. There's the chance of that little bit of wet weather coming across on a couple of days next week, but there's no strong signal in this part of the world at all. Instead, the story is just how much above average it is for an extended period of time. Having a look at Adelaide, very similar picture. It is all of these icons that are looking fairly sunny. Maybe Tuesday is when that system comes through, but unless there is an actual storm right overhead, I wouldn't expect a lot out of that one. So the potential there is quite low. Having a look at Perth over on the other side, this is the last one we have a look at. 40 yesterday, but now we're in the 20s, so there's nothing extreme coming at all. In fact, the wet weather barely makes it up to Perth. It's more in that southwest corner. It may warm up again on Tuesday, but it doesn't last for long as the next trough moves through. So if you need to keep up to date with Cyclone Alfred, I will keep this map here up to date during the day. Cyclone Alfred, Friday the 7th. You find it under Jane's update. You'll also find this weekly update under there as well. Do stay safe if you're in anywhere that rain, wind and water is coming through to, and I'll see you next week.